Everyone, I'm Tina, the creative guru with Gems, Paper, Scissors. I'm hopping on for my 5 at Live, and that's Pacific time. Today, I'm going to do some second generation stamping and adding a little bit of flair to my stamped image as I kind of do a process here, finishing up a layout. It's not going to be 100% finished because I still have journaling to do, but it'll be done before I go to bed tonight. I'm going to share my desktop with you. And I was feeling very nostalgic with the announcements of changes to Close to My Heart and potentially moving over to Stampin' Up. And so I pulled out one of my old layout books and flipped through and came to this particular layout. I can't share all the measurements because it is copywritten, but I pretty much followed it to a T. I've got my photos down and up. I've got some journaling. I've got a title. I've got a space for more journaling. I think I'm going to put some photo space in there. I even am going to put in, instead of ribbon, because we don't have matching coordinating ribbon right now, I'm going to shift out and show you how to use our shimmer tape, which is fantastic, and add some little dots. And so we're going to join in on this. It's a 2-page layout. So there's one, there's the other. It's not completely laid out, but it's pretty close. So, and I adjusted the photos because back in the day, doing a 5x7 was pretty common. And now we tend to do slightly different trending photos. So what I did, I'm going to grab my messy mat here to show you what I did to get this. I used this thin cut on Sunday to create a coffee mug effect. Today, I'm using the stamp and thin cut. I've already cut it. And in this, I've already actually got it stamped, but I'm going to show you again how I did this. I always have a piece of scrap paper hanging around, and all of our stamps come with a mushi mat. And I'm going to put that behind because I find it gives a nicer absorbency of the ink. I'm going to peel off my stamped image off of the carrier sheet. And my block is filthy. I apologize, but it's just going to stay that way for right now. And I just put it on. It sticks. It's kind of stack clingy. If it stops where it doesn't want to cling, go ahead and just wash it off and then let it air dry, and it'll refresh the sticky aspect. So to do this, I used 3 ink pads. One is our Pine, Mulberry, and Rosie. I'm going to start off with the Pine. And again, we have these fantastic patented ink cases. They're magnetic, so arthritis and miscellaneous challenges are so much nicer. Our old magnetic cases, I had to pinch and then flip. And frequently I would fumble it. And by the time I got it open, I will have flung the ink at my chest. And I can't tell you how many outfits I ruined before I learned to wear an apron. So I'm going to do first generation stamping of the boots. And then I'm going to use just a real quick damp rag to tidy that up, because I try not to put my stamp pads away dirty, but I'm not actually done with this stamp pad. We're going to do a fun little thing because I don't want to hand color this, right? So I'm going to take this off. And remember, the entire image is slightly sticky. So I turned that over. I just peeled it up. Here's the outline. And now I've flipped it over and used the Stickum on my block. And I'm going to ink it up. This does not work with all images, so you might want to stamp it separately first or on a scrap. But I love this technique. And I could do first generation, but that's really dark. Oops, see, I didn't even get it pushed down all the way, but that's okay. We're gonna push it down again. And I'm gonna ink it up another round and just really get this going. I tend to do this a few times until I get it about as dark as I think I'm gonna want. So that would be a first generation. And now I'm gonna turn it and put it over my stamped image as close as I can get it and do my second generation stamping. And I'm going to let it just soak up that juiciness of that ink before I lift it up. And isn't that just awesome? Again, just a damp rag, run it under running water. These are so easy to clean and maintain. So that's all there is to it. Peel it off and put it back onto your carrier sheet. Grab your little foamy, put that over the stamps on the carrier sheet, and slide it back into your envelope for storage. That way you never lose a stamp. Now, that being said, I lose stamps all the time because I don't put them away. You get crafty and you kind of, I've known people that have left them on the block and then come back a month later and going, I don't know what stamp it is. Now, my muck boots for my farm work have a pretty pattern. And so I am going to add some flowers. And last year, our 2023, our stamp of the month for July was the bee's knees. And I really, really like this little flower. I could use the carrier sheet, but it's such a small little image that I'm just going to put it on and I'm going to stamp straight onto the paper. And this is what I'm using the Rosie and Mulberry for. And so I'm going to start off with the Rosie. I'm going to do first and second generation stamping on this. And I'm just going to put it all over the place. You see how it's two different tones, but you still get that image? It is such a fun option. And you can just go ahead and fill this in. I don't have a pattern past the ankle line on my boots. And going over the edge is also really nice. And this hasn't been run through the thin cut yet, so that center area is pretty inked up. And that's okay because it'll cut out when I run it through the thin cut. So there's a few first, second, and third generations. I'm going to fill in the rest with the mulberry. Again, wipe off your ink because you don't really want to drag over that bright, vibrant rosy into your paler mulberry. And just fill in. And again, you can do first and second generation stamping, or you can just do first where you tap and tap and tap. So play with it. Play with your images. Play with your ink. See if it's a strong enough color or tone that you're happy with it the first time, the second time, or if there's even a third generation stamping worth of ink left behind. I'm going to put away my bee's little flower, my bee's knees, because I have already stamped and cut that image, but I don't want to lose my flower because I have hung into that stamp set for quite some time and I obviously really enjoy it. So that's how you do that batch of techniques. I am going to move this out of the way now and bring back my layout. So if you have been around preschool music, you've heard a song where there's a duck coming up and going, "Gotta be grapes." Well, we've been talking about getting some ducks for quite some time, but we were going to wait another couple of years because, quite simply, our space is not quite ready to have ducks. They take up a lot of space. I have a permaculture spot that I am trying to grow up. So I wanted to get my plants settled before getting the ducks. But in my 53,000 approximately people neighborhood, we have a group on Facebook called Buy Nothing. And somebody recently had posted on the Buy Nothing group, hey, I have some ducks. And although we had no house set up for them, we have no infrastructure, and my plants are not grown enough to be really safe from the little buggers, we said, sure, are they laying eggs? Yeah, we can make do with these guys. They need a home. And nobody, after like several days had piped up saying they were interested in, I can't just leave ducks to not have a home. It's just, they're on the plan, right? They're just not on the plan yet. So I said to my husband, I said, honey, I know we're not ready for it, but we've talked about it. Can we get ducks now? He goes, sure. So we arranged it. We picked them up. And we went on ahead and got our duckies home. And then we've scrambled to get everything set up and ready for them. But my plants sure are struggling. So we'll see how they come through. We've ended up caging and wiring off a whole bunch of my plants and trees in hopes that they will grow up and be strong. We'll see. So I'm just working and talking as I go through the process. If you remember in the example, there was a ribbon here. I'm going to use this tape. It is kind of hard for most people to get the backing off of this. So the trick to that is you take your scrap piece of paper and put down a little bit of tape runner and rub that down, at which point it peels off of that backing pretty easily, just like that, leaving the backing, the protector, behind. How cool is that? So now I'm just going to lay this down as if it's ribbon. And I cut it a little long. So I'm going to trim it for where I want it. Because in the image, there's a hole and that ribbon is taped down, right? Well, I'm going to end up using some of our orange yellow dots because it kind of really flows well here. And I don't know if I'm going to go with the orange or the yellow, but I'll figure it out. Do the other side of this shimmer tape, shimmer trim instead of our ribbon. Put that down. There we go. Oh, it's looking pretty good. So that's how we use our shimmer tape. It's really, really sparkly. I don't know if you can get the full effect there. There we go. That helps. So it is beautiful. It does not leave a whole bunch of glitter behind. So even though I was scraping on it and stuff, I'm not concerned about the mess that confounded glittery things leave behind. It's one of my personal pet peeves because that's not my jam. I'm going to wait to put these down, but I'm going to mark my spot with that because I will forget. So here's our first batch of ducks. They came home. We did not have a home for them. They came with 2 kiddie ponds and the ducks and a little duck house that was way too small for them. Like way, 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 way too small. They couldn't all fit at once. And so we put them in the greenhouse while building a very fast, very simple duck house. And as things do, it kind of cascaded from there. That was one Christmas break. And then we got them into their fenced off yard where the dogs couldn't get them. And then that spring, they started laying some eggs. And although I like duck eggs, we agreed as a household to let them sit their nest for a bit. And we'd let them sit one nest and hatch. So the nest that we decided, because it's frequently cold here, we decided to go on ahead and let them sit their nest from May 1st until the summer solstice, at which point we also knew that they only had a few eggs that would probably be viable. So we ordered some baby chicks to add to their nests at about the time that the ones that they laid should be hatching. And they came and joined the little duckies, at which point all of the preschool kids started going, "Got any grapes?" So every time when we've got grapes handy, we try to take some out with the kitchen scraps so that they have some grapes. I will journal here this evening. I'm going to, I think we've got some yellows here. We've got yellows here, but we've got a little peachy orange. So I think I'm going to lift off the great big, huge orange dots. So I use the nonstick scissors. I lift it off the carrier sheet, and then I place it where I want it, just like so. Yep, that really makes me pretty happy. So I just slide it under, attach it to the sticky part, place it where I want it, slide my scissors out. And that's all there is to it. For my title, I did use our Coral Shades Tri-Blend marker. So I've got the light, the medium, and the dark there. And I think it could use just a little bit more. So I'm going to add some Seabrook shimmer. To do that, I'm going to grab my messy mat, because I always try and squeeze them out after shaking it up. And then I'm just going to do a messy swatch over it. It'll end up drying and looking like it's behind it. Slide this back off without making a mess of my mess. Typically, I would wipe that down, but I already tossed my wipe to the side, like so. And it's already dry. And you can see there's that little shimmer from the shimmer brush. Really simple, and it adds a nice splash. Now, to the second half of my layout. As things progressed, those baby duckies, these little baby duckies, grew and grew. See, here's where we put those in with Mama Duck that had decided to be a brooder and hatched her own baby ducks. But, those little kiddie pools, they were getting quite a workout. So then we're like, hey, maybe we should give them a pond. A permanent pond structure. So we cleared that space, and then we broke out the shovels and the pickaxe. We have a lot of river rocks around here. And so we dug out the hole and used our local Buy Nothing group to offer up the fill dirt. See how we've got all of our plants all surrounded by chicken wire and hardware wire to try and keep it safer. And we dug and we dug and we dug for a whole week, every chance we got, until we had a great big hole. At which point I had picked up some pond plastic and laid that down. And after putting down some scrap fabric to pad the space so it wouldn't tear from rocks underneath. And then we surrounded it by a lot of the bigger rocks that came from the hole and used some over around our jungle and filled it up with water. And we measured that out and measured that out. And it turned out with the water governor that we ended up with a 500-gallon pond for those crazy little ducks that we were not planning to have for another couple of years. So here we are. We've now had them for just a year, and we've expanded. We've had snow, and the entire pond froze, and the ducks are loving their little home right there. And so going out in this weather or after big rain, which we have all the time because this is the Valley of the Northwest and 6 months out of the year is wet, I have my muck boots. Some people have rain boots. These are heavy duty that you can get from a feed store or hardware store. And so there's my muck boots to go do my chores. And that is all I'm going to do for this layout. You've learned a couple techniques, a couple processes. You've learned how to use the shimmer tape, the dots, and the shimmer brush. So all of that has been demonstrated for you in tonight's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will be back on Saturday at 5. I do not know if it's going to be more of a social kind of a video because my birthday is this weekend. And so I'm having friends over. We're going to break out some neon paint and pretend that we're in Miss Congeniality, banging our drums and painting with 55-gallon drums and neon and glow-in-the-dark UV that'll do what it does, and making homemade pizzas, single serves, and firing those up in my outdoor kitchen with my clay pizza ovens. So it may be part of continuation, or most likely I will show you a quick card using our Operation Smile stamp set. Have a great day. Leave a comment, share, follow, like, do all the things, and have a great couple of days. Bye for now.